Hello. Today is Monday, August 10th, 2026. Here is your daily signal. Iran has issued a long list of steep demands to the United States before it will reopen the Strait of Hormuz, with Fortune reporting that the Supreme National Security Council declared the vital shipping lane will stay closed until the U.S. corrects its behavior. The Strait of Hormuz is a strategic choke point for global oil shipments, responsible for over 20% of the world's petroleum each year. Iran has a history of threatening to restrict access, heightening worries about energy security, and recent escalations follow renewed frictions and military tensions in the region. On August 8, 2026, Fortune detailed Iran's insistence on total compensation for war damage as just one of the conditions. This standoff impacts key parties, major energy companies like Total Energies and ExxonMobil, and international shipping firms including Maersk as they face potential transit disruption. Near-term consequences include oil shipment interruptions, which may drive volatility in global energy prices and create broad market uncertainty. Extended closure could disrupt refining and manufacturing, prompting Asian and European sectors to renegotiate trade routes and insurance policies. If the crisis persists, diplomatic escalation and an increased military presence may follow in the region. Next, we turn to fiscal risks in Washington. According to Fortune, the U.S. Treasury Borrowing Advisory Committee is sounding the alarm about a $1.45 trillion shortfall arising from recent financial engineering, especially after Scott Bessent helped finance a $2 trillion deficit without solving the looming gap. The TBAC was established to advise the Treasury Department on borrowing tactics, and concerns have grown about the sustainability of current strategies, as the math underpinning fiscal policy no longer adds up. Recent years saw advisors like Bessent help manage massive deficits, but the new shortfall threatens debt stability. On August 8, 2026, Fortune noted the Treasury's borrowing math is now in question as the TBAC documented this shortfall and warned investors may lose confidence in U.S. debt. Prominent market participants and institutional investors who purchase government securities will feel the effects, alongside the Treasury itself. The growing gap could push up borrowing costs and drive volatility in debt markets. If left unresolved, this could force rapid fiscal policy adjustments or major spending cuts in future budgets, while stakeholders fear market disruptions if the government struggles to service its obligations. Now, let's move to environmental concerns in Texas. TechCrunch reports Amazon's planned Texas data center with its dedicated on-site power plant could become the biggest climate polluter in the United States, sparking significant alarm among environmental groups. Amazon is pursuing a hyperscale facility, part of a wider trend as Texas attracts energy-intensive data infrastructure due to its deregulated energy landscape. The scale of projected emissions led advocacy groups and local agencies to challenge the project. Community residents have mounting concerns about air and water quality impacts. On August 8, 2026, TechCrunch explained that Amazon's new complex may set the precedent for the single largest source of climate pollution nationally. Amazon Web Services (AWS) leads the development, while regulators and community stakeholders face unprecedented monitoring and oversight. In the near term, the facility may set new standards for emissions permitted in U.S. data operations, with air quality and public health issues likely to prompt regulatory scrutiny. Over the medium term, the project is expected to fuel a national policy debate about environmental standards and digital infrastructure, with Amazon's decisions shaping the energy mix and sustainability requirements adopted by other technology firms. Now, onto the markets. International markets delivered mixed results, with the China large-cap sector outperforming on an 8.9% monthly gain and Hong Kong also advancing over 6%, while key European markets like Germany and France drifted sideways. Indonesia stood out in emerging markets with a 9% monthly increase, whereas Japan edged higher by 3.7% over the same period. Commodities saw silver surge 12.9% monthly with a notable 2.4% gain on the day, while U.S. oil added over 6% for the month and natural gas rose more than 4% in today's session. Gold prices continued their upward momentum, advancing nearly 9% for the month, but platinum slipped slightly despite strong gains elsewhere in metals. Among favorite stocks, Microsoft jumped nearly 30% month-over-month and Adobe rallied over 18%, though Nvidia and AMD each pulled back more than 10% for the month. In sector performance, the S&P 500 finished essentially flat on the session but is up about 3% for the month, while healthcare stocks gained 4% in the same period, contrasting a 3% monthly loss for real estate and semiconductors indexes. On the day's biggest movers, FOS soared 12.9% and SCKT climbed nearly 475%, while Sion slumped 92% and Tenx dropped almost 90%. That's it for today. You can find more news and details on our website. Goodbye.